Wow, what a day yesterday was. So much information to put together, and it's only going to get better or worse, whatever you want to view it as, because today is part one of the roadmap, and it is immense. It is ginormous. I'm having to do pictures here because I have half an hour now before dinner, and then I've got after that to finish it off. But let's have a look at the roadmap, part one. Well. This is the roadmap that we're on. Train Sim World 4, a whole slew of new content, improvements and features hits Tuesday, 26th of September, 2023. Or, if you want to get early access, pre-order Train Sim World 4 Deluxe or Special Editions, and you will get it Thursday, the 21st of September. In case you missed it, check out the link to the keynote on the news article, or even check my video out that I did yesterday in the back garden, in the sun, sunglasses on, having a good time. It's such a good video. If you can't watch it all, just make sure you see that first clip, that first part. It was amazing. Now, if you'd like a potted summary of everything that was announced, here's a quick but still pretty long list. Vorarlberg Lindau to Bludenz, the first Austrian route, first border crossing featuring the OBB 4024 Talent 1. Antelope Line Los Angeles to Lancaster, challenging canyon terrain, meets the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles with the unique F125 loco and Rotem cars. The East Coast Mainline, Peterborough to Doncaster, the perfect racetrack for the high-speed LNER Azuma, and rail tours to stretch its legs. Flying Scotsman, only available on the Deluxe and Special Editions. The world's most famous steam locomotive takes a centenary rail tour on East Coast Mainline. Railpool BR 193 Vectron, again a Deluxe and Special Edition loco. Coming to Naverka Dresden, which will be upgraded to Train Sim World 4 feature set, the computer on wheels will be a great addition to German rail fans' collections. And just in case it doesn't get mentioned later, Flying Scotsman and Vectron are on the Deluxe and Special Editions. You have to get those editions to get those two. But later on, we haven't got a date yet, but a month or so afterwards, Flying Scotsman and the Vectron will be available separately. But at the moment, for launch, it's only in the Deluxe and Special Editions, okay? If you want to have a look at the Deluxe and Special Editions, the Deluxe will have the 3 routes, plus Flying Scotsman, plus Vectron, plus Naverka Dresden. The Special Edition will have Southeastern High Speed and a couple of other routes. I don't have them to hand, because I've now got Mega Ted trying to sit next to me with his ball. Yes, I know. But there is a Special Edition as well. And don't forget, if you do pre-order on console, you get 20% off. Epic, you get 20% off. Epic, you get up to 25% with loyalty and pre-order. So I think it's 15% pre-order and 10% loyalty. So if you've already got Train Sim World 3. Anyway, Scenario Planner 2. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Scenario Planner 2, chain paths, custom start times and weathers, portal support for AI trains, new UI and more. Livery Designer 2.0, undo and redo, text entry, new fonts, toggling AI livery usage, 1000 layer limit and more. Photo mode, now that is good. Pause the game to take the perfect screenshot with adjustable camera settings, filters and enhancements to populate your in-game library or in-game gallery. Creators Club improvements, filter by content you own and new UI. New scoring system, rewarding experienced drivers for driving well, and with safety systems enabled, and with all new platinum medal tier. Ease of access improvements, locomotive difficulty tiering, improved player assists, simpler HUD, plus a new mini HUD, automatic coupling, class 323 and 8F, the steam train in training center, and improved key mapping. Improved overhead line rendering, new rain on windscreen effects, Haptics for controllers, so feel vibrations for key moments, and use the PlayStation DualSense controller's light bar and controller audio for signals and safety systems respectively. Volumetric fog improves the depth of the graphics. Free roam mode, spawn trains anywhere at any time. Set paths where you like. Use custom formations. The world is your sandbox to use your whole collection as you choose in a single session. Then the PC editor in beta. Access the version of the Unreal Engine 4 toolset. The same tools, slightly simplified tools as the teams at Dovetail use. Create gameplay, trains, even your own routes. Well, prepare yourself for the longest roadmap ever written and read, currently sat at 15,000 words plus. With so much in it, Dovetail had to split it into two parts. Today and tomorrow's roadmaps will cover all of the above in a little more detail. Checking in with the teams who have made them to drill into what makes them special. Talking about the routes and locos as well as the OHLE, suspension, and rain windscreen graphical improvements today, as well as talking about some of the things we know people have questions about. So here is the new roadmap, detailing what we can expect from us, I don't work for Dovetail, from them over the coming months. This is all new content. There is an update on other projects further down in the roadmap. So I know my pictures are flicking through, but there is the roadmap that was at the beginning. Launch, we've got the routes, we've got editor version 1. Patches, Train 4 upgrade for Neverka Dresden. 1 to 3 months, we got the Winter Core update, Formation Designer, suspension improvements. German route add-on will be coming. Blackpool, Preston, Ormskirk, Just Trains. Swiss route by Rivet Games. Rivet Games has 2 gameplay packs. And then 4 to 6 months, a new US route, UK route, German route. A new UK route by Rivet Games. Loco pack with a new partner. And editor version 2. 6 months plus, Austrian route, German route, US route, UK route, US loco, German loco, UK route, Rivet Games, loco pack, new partner, and version 3 of the editor. So there is going to be the Railfan TV schedule. I'm not going to mention any of them because that's something for you to look at, but this is looking at the roadmap, new features, the Vorarlberg preview, PC editor showcase, Antelope Valley, creative tool preview, Dresden and Vectron preview, free roam mode preview, East Coast Mainline and Scotsman preview. That's 20th of September, the day before the early release, and 25th of September, Train Sim World 4 summary stream before we get that big day, 26th of September, when everyone can get their hands on Train Sim World 4. Timings and details on trains may change. So let's take a moment. We've got those key arts. They were amazing that we've got at the start. Funnily enough, I haven't asked yet, but there isn't a Vectron one. I need to comment on that. I need to put some feedback in. But anyway, let's look at these routes. Vorarlberg, Lindau to Bludenz. Train Sim World arrives in Austria. Here to talk about Vorarlberg and why they're excited to bring in a new country is Lucas, the senior technical producer. For those unfamiliar with the route, why should players be excited? Well, Lucas has said it's a new country. We're going to Austria, and that means stunning vistas, new trains, and new operators. It's also a border crossing route, so one end is in Germany, the other is in Austria, so you'll see infrastructure and other scenery changes as you cross the border. What challenges come with creating content for a new country? Well, new countries are much more of a challenge because it's important to capture what makes them unique. This can be the obvious things like different trains and signals to less obvious things like the types of track, clips, the sleepers that are used, the types of foliage, the architecture of the buildings. Operating practices might be different to what's come before, so it's important to not let yourself get fooled into thinking similar things are similar. Everything must be checked and understood. The team spent a lot of time trying to understand the railways of a country, just as well as the rail fans would. What's important to them and what really makes the railway landscape represent that country. So what would a normal run look like from end to end? Well, starting at Lindau, you're in Germany, on a beautiful little island. As you progress off the island, you'll turn sharply and shortly make the crossing over to Austria, which is extremely understated as in reality. There's simply a bridge. You'll see Germany overhead, catenary poles one side and Austrian on the other. Continuing the journey, you'll reach Rheindenberg, where the track forks. At this point, you can head towards Switzerland along the branch line, though only as far as Lustenau, where the S-Bahn ends, and not actually into Switzerland. Continuing on the main line, the track is now on a gradient, and you're running alongside some breathtaking mountainscapes on one side until Feldkirch, where the journey takes a hard turn up into the mountains for the ascent to Bludenz. Driving the OBB 4024 Talent 1 train is straightforward, but you'll have a lot to keep an eye out with over around 30 stations along that route. So what's been the most challenging part of developing the route? Well, they felt that one of the most important things to get right on the route was the landscape with the stunning mountains around you. Going to an area like Austria and not doing justice to the views would be a waste. So they've been using LiDAR, so that's light detection and ranging data for the landscapes of routes now for a year or so, but a lot of detail in that super high definition terrain just gets lost to the distance and you can't really see it as well as you would hope. The key area of development for the team has been an intelligent landscape material, which is responsible for the colours used on the ground, that reacts to the data present in LiDAR terrain and can be much more precise and detailed in its rendition of that landscape via the textures and the colours shown. This means that all the detail, shape and form of the landscape is visible from a long distance away and beautifully captures the stunning vistas of Austria. Are there any particular points of interest for players to keep an eye out for? Well, the island in Lindau is a particularly beautiful start to your journey, and while it's understated, in reality the border crossing is a notable feature as well. Beyond that, take in the mountains, several areas where the railway is really close to some awesome high detail terrain courtesy of the LiDAR and new landscape material. The route is beautiful to look at from start to finish. Another key feature of the route that they've implemented is neutral sections in the overhead wiring, where the train will momentarily lose power and then get it back again on the other side. Learn to navigate these. It's easy, particularly in modern trains, but something interesting to observe as you drive along the line. What unique features can players look forward to? Well, this is the first Austrian route, so while the trains are quite similar to their German counterparts, the signals are a little different. It's relatable if you are familiar with German signals. It won't take you long to pick up the differences, but it's an interesting system, and just like the German system, it fully supports allowing drivers to drive without needing to learn the route as much as, say, a UK route might. For gameplay, in addition to the Talent 1, they've also included the DBBR 185.2 to support freight traffic, and there's even more gameplay for the Railpool Vectron as well. So what's your favourite part of the route, Lucas? Well, it's anywhere that he can see the mountains. It's a key difference from any other route in Train Sim World, and a joy to see with all the detail and distant scenery that is present. Even better in those moments when it's really close up, and you can see that detail really holding up to close viewing. So describe the route in 3 words. Stunning. The views will take your breath away. Busy. Lots to do with a range of traffic, including some interesting layers from other packs as well. And different. It's not like any of the routes Dovetail have done before. So the next route, Antelope Line, Los Angeles to Lancaster. Peninsula Corridor meets Cajon Pass in the new West Coast US route, featuring Metrolink for the first time. Here to add a little bit of Hollywood razzmatazz is Craig Fowler, a senior artist. So for those unfamiliar with the route, why should players be excited? Well, Craig has said, Antelope Valley takes players on a journey through America's sunny state with some of the most unique stations ever featured in Train Sim World. From the bustling commuter hub of LA Union, the Wild West themed Vincent Grade Acton, to the pastel artwork of Santa Clarita. Connected through a breathtaking path through the deserts, mountains and lush plains of California. There truly is no other route that feels as special. So what would a normal route look like from end to end? Well, a normal run would see the players working their way through the built-up areas before slowly edging their way into the mountains. With each passing station, the player takes another step towards leaving the busy city life behind and venturing out onto the rugged landscape, crawling through the valley until finally reaching the bustle of the city once again. What's been the most challenging part of this route, developing it? Well, the hardest part for Dovetail is always doing the natural world justice in replicating these stunning locations. With Antelope Valley, they have gone to great lengths to ensure that the 3D meshes, the foliage and landscape materials capture the essence of the location. Now, what has Metrolink been like to work with? Well, they're great partners to work with. They've been engaging in many conversations and shared resources to ensure the branding is represented accurately. Are there any particular points of interest for players to keep an eye out for? Well, the Los Angeles River is an iconic spot featured in many Hollywood classics. Players might recognise the setting of many car chases in the dried concrete basin, or if they're feeling adventurous, the valleys are open for the player to explore. Strange sightings have been reported over the years that led some to believe that there is more going on than meets the eye. And one of those films, I believe, is Grease. What unique features can players look forward to? Among the unique stations and breathtaking views, Antelope Valley features brand new foliage and landscape materials that make it feel like no other route in Train Sim world. So what's your favourite part, Craig? It's hard to pick a specific location because the whole route really is superb. However, rolling into Vincent Grade Acton as the sun is setting is a hard one to beat. Describe the route in 3 words: conquered, lush and desert. Thank you, Craig. Now let's turn up that speed with the East Coast Mainline, Doncaster to Peterborough. The British racetrack route is here. Raise your pantographs and azuma your way across the East Coast Mainline. James Lewis, the marketing coordinator at Dovetail Games and avid train enthusiast, has more. So for those unfamiliar with the route, why should players be excited? Well, it doesn't get more modern than this. Being in the state-of-the-art high-speed train and rapidly getting up to speed is a thrill and offers its own unique challenges. He always likes the feeling of, I'm in charge of managing hundreds of tons, hundreds of people, 125 miles an hour, and this is no European line with fancy TVM or LZB as a guiding hand. There's a station in the middle of nowhere and you need to know when to stop for it. What would a normal run look like from end to end? Well, there are several service patterns which run along this section of the East Coast Mainline. A longer distance express may run non-stop between the endpoints, letting you get to speed and stay there. But other services will call at the intermediate stations, offering a nice variety. And if you're in something which can't do 125 miles an hour, like a rail tour with a particular locomotive, expect to pull over into several passing loops and let the LNER services overtake. What's been the most challenging part of the route? Well, his experience in this arena comes from talking to various people throughout the studio, but as can often be the case, finding the most up-to-date reference is a common challenge, especially on a route such as this, where most cab rides are either from 20 years ago or time-lapsed. There are also many details to consider on routes like this, with big intercity stations, lots of stopping markers, waiting points, shops. Complex stations comes with lots of junctions, demanding detailed OHLE throughout. It's quite the sight to behold. So what have LNER been like to work with? Well, LNER have been very forthcoming and assisted them greatly, providing branding designs and livery details to exactly recreate on the Azuma model. Along with Hitachi, they are also able to access a Class 801 directly in the depot for lots of photo taking and audio recording. A big thanks to everyone involved, including the licensing team. So are there any particular routes of interest for the players to keep an eye out for? Well, be on the ball, because most things will race by pretty quickly. Lots of details have been crammed into the route. They have open shops on stations, which do actually close when it's late, which is good. Authentic OHLE gantries, the famed mallard sign on Stoke Bank, as well as, of course, as bigger areas such as Doncaster Works, the Hitachi Depot, lots of bridges, and some quite interesting level crossings. So what unique features can players look forward to? Well, if you want to talk unique, we must mention the Newark Flat Crossing, being the last remaining of its kind on the national network. Flat crossings are where rails cross over each other without being a junction. So it's kind of like a level crossing, but both bits are for trains. Just north of Newark Northgate station at the East Coast Mainline crosses with the line between Nottingham and Lincoln. So for Midland Mainline owners, in between LNER racing north and south, you can spot 158s heading east and west. Another unique feature is attributed to the East Coast Mainline's history with speed. Back in the British Rail days, across Stoke Bank between Peterborough and Grantham, the line was upgraded with a 5-aspect signalling system, adding flashing green before green itself. The intent was to permit high-speed running, giving the driver enough time to safely stop for a red up ahead. Ultimately, the test never went anywhere, but the signals remain to this day and can unofficially support running at 140 miles per hour, the record being 161. What's your favourite part of the route? And I've forgotten his name because I'm thinking Craig, but it's not Craig, it's James. Let's go back to it. For James, it has to be the Peterborough station. It's something of a spotting haven. Not only do you have stopping LNER traffic, freight trundling by, but Azumas will also fly through down the fast and through platform 3 as per reality, as several LNER services run non-stop between London and York. Let's also not forget the appearance of Thameslink terminating throughout the day, and East Midlands traffic. Who knows? You might even see a rail tour. So describe the route in 3 words: speed, stylish, and cool. So now we have the centenary anniversary of the Flying Scotsman, and Flying Scotsman is coming to Train Sim World 4. Celebrating 100 years of being, well, a legend of the railways, the Flying Scotsman comes as part of the deluxe edition. Getting us all a little hot under the collar is Jamie, the community manager and senior audio designer Adam. So have they managed to source authentic audio? Adam: yes. We hired out the Flying Scotsman for 2 days on the East Lancashire Railway to get photos and audio recording. How excited are you to bring the Scotsman to Train Sim World in its centenary year? Well, Jamie said, very excited to bring one of the most famous locomotives in the world into Train Sim World, and during its century is just great. Something that they've always wanted to see in game as an LNER fan. Is the locomotive in its original preserve state? What does that mean for the player? Well, the loco is in preserve condition as it's currently from the 2016 to 2022 overhauls. BR Brunswick Green in A3 condition with corridor tender, smoke deflectors and modern safety systems. This means you can run the loco on all the UK modern routes for rail tours in free roam or scenario planner. But it can also run on West Somerset Railway and also BR era routes for the livery that it is in. What's it like to drive? It's brilliant to drive. Really get the sense of speed and power with the engine, and it gives you the chance to drive the world famous machine. What has been the most challenging part of the route to build? Scotsman is the biggest steam locomotive so far that they've brought into the game, and they think that one of the more challenging areas is getting the finer details and style right, as Scotsman has had so many variations over the years in liveries, boilers and tenders. Are there any particularly exciting scenarios? Well, there is. Have you ever wanted to go and try for Flying Scotsman's record-breaking run? Well, now you can, as they challenge us to get to 100 miles per hour, just like she did back in 1934. So Scotsman is currently on its tour to celebrate its 100th year. So how can players join in on the fun? Well, scenario planner and free roam, we can take the Flying Scotsman round the world to celebrate her centenary, and even recreate runs she has done during her lifetime on the rails. Also share screenshots and videos with dovetail to see how we're celebrating the centenary. So describe the Scotsman in 3 words: fast, famous, fantastic. So next is the Railpool BR193 Vectron. In the worst kept secret in train sim world history, the computer on wheels is coming to the deluxe edition too. We're all excited, and so is Lucas, again with a little more information about an iconic German locomotive. So Lucas, tell us a bit more about what makes the Vectron special. Well, the Vectron is an ultra-modern powerhouse of a freight locomotive. It's got a unique look to it, and that just all makes it really fun to drive. Well, what's it like to drive? Well, you've got a lot of power at your command with the Vectron, so it's responsive and capable. It's also a mobile computer with lots of functionality implemented on the screens, as per the prototype as well. Well, what kind of operations can players expect when driving this loco? Well, this locomotive is primarily used for freight in this form, so we'll be using it to haul freight on both the Vorarlberg and Dresden routes. However, they have included a wide range of fun formations for a scenario planner and free roam that include using the intercity coaches from the BR101 pack to let you use it in a passenger configuration as well. So just be aware, BR101 pack is needed to get the coaches for the Railpool Vectron, and that is just in free roam and planner, scenario planner. If you want services, it's just freight. So what's been the most challenging part of the locomotive to build? Well, there are extensive computer screens implemented on this, along with a very detailed representation of the physics of the train. Capturing all of that effectively has been a challenge, and required multiple trips back to the prototype, courtesy of Railpool and Locomotion, to allow them to really capture the audio and the feel of this train as well. Are there any operational quirks? Well, take the time to explore the computer screens. The Vectron is the multi-system version and has the capability to run in both Austria and Germany. Your headlights are set up on the screens too. There really is a ton of stuff to find there. You can cut out traction motors and save power as well, just as per the real loco. So, have Dovetail managed to source authentic audio? Well, with thanks to Railpool and Locomotion, they were able to get access to their Vectron locomotives on 2 occasions, capturing both static and running sounds, including running at speed on the main line. There's also a particularly exquisite horn on there as well. And funnily enough, when I was there last week, they were talking about the amount of microphones that they put on the Vectron, that they singled out everything from in the cab, on the side. They were able to do that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they mix that and put it into the game itself. So are there any particularly exciting scenarios? Well, there's an extra scenario for the Vectron to run on the Vorarlberg, in addition to making it work in timetable mode. A really awesome combination having this loco on that stunning route. So what upgrades will Werke Dresden receive to support the release of the Vectron? Well, the biggest part of the upgrade is that the Dresden route is getting new skies and lighting from TOD 4, as introduced in Train Sim World 3, something players have been asking for on as many routes as possible since we introduced it. So describe the Vectron in 3 words: modern, one of the most modern trains in the game at this point; powerful, lots of power to command; and detailed, a lot of highly detailed facets and nuances to the recreation of this locomotive to discover. Now, I know we already did a news article earlier today, but on the roadmap, Blackpool, Preston, Ormskirk by Just Trains. Now, there are pictures, and one of them is Pleasure Beach Theme Park dominates the line side as this Class 142 Pacer bounces away from Blackpool South, the single line bit. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more from what this route gives, because what I know so far is amazing. And there's so much more. Even just looking at that photo, seeing Blackpool Tower, seeing the roller coaster, oh, it's just great. So they've teased, taunted us, given a veritable roller coaster of clues, but Dovetail are delighted to announce that Just Train's first Trainsimwell route will be Blackpool, Preston, Ormskirk. The team at Just Trains are excited to announce the route that they've been working on for the last 18 months, covering 47 miles, spanning from Ormskirk in the south to Blackpool and Bernays in the north, with Preston as the bustling centre for this detailed and immersive 1980s route. The route has a total of 19 stations, with 16 in service and 3 disused. Here are some of the details of the new route and some all-new first shots of the route from the team at Just Trains. So we've got images of a Class 40 whisks through along the embankment between Singleton and Wheaton in a lucky patch of sun, covering a turn usually worked by a DMU. A Class 31 standing in Preston Station on a murky evening whilst working a returning ballast train from Kirkham. Civil engineers sidings. Yes, it would reverse in Preston to access Ladywell sidings. We've got the map, which includes the Bernays branch at the north, Blackpool North and Blackpool South stations to the west, Preston on the West Coast Mainline, Ormskirk in the south, where it meets the top end of the Merseyrail track coming from Liverpool. With the mist closing in on a cold November evening, Class 47 restarts a northbound freight away from a brief stop at Preston. A derelict scene at the forlorn signal box at St Anne's is passed by a Class 142 pacer bound for Ormskirk. So Preston Station is the focus and is located on the West Coast Mainline. The station in the era features 6 through and 2 bay platforms. No matter what time of day or night you visit, you'll always find action here, with passenger, freight and parcel services all making regular visits. Departing Preston heading north, the route leaves the West Coast Mainline at Files Junction and turns west, bound for the seaside. Have your bucket and spades at the ready. Following a swift run through the little used station of Solwick, you will soon find yourself at Kirkham and Wesham, an interesting island platform, quickly followed by a civil engineer's yard and Kirkham Tip, both locations producing interesting services on the route. At Kirkham North Junction, the line splits. The route features both the winding single track line to Blackpool South, as well as the much busier main line to Blackpool North. Just Trains will share more details on the unique personas of both these lines in due course, but needless to say, they both offer a very different experience. So the 8 platforms of Blackpool North are busy throughout the day, with the scene on the picture showing a DMU special waiting to return holidaymakers to West Yorkshire, whilst a 47 hauled train has just arrived on platform 1. To the right is an 08 shunter, which is used on pilot duties at various points throughout the day. So jumping back to Preston, we can catch a train for the 15-mile journey to Ormskirk, leaving the West Coast Main Line at Farrington Curve Junction. This single track line provides a different experience to the other parts of the route, running almost entirely through charming rural countryside, broken only by the stops at Croston, Rufford and Burscough Junction stations, before arriving at Ormskirk, where the British Rail line meets the electrified Merseyrail network. Fortunately, the tracks are not physically joined together. Why is it fortunately? I'd love that for the pacer to go through. So there are other pictures. St Anne's Station in a terrible state of repair during the demolition of its extensive station buildings. Preston Station, North End, with a grand entrance to the right access from the road bridge. Platform 7 is visible on the left, at this time only used by freight trains. Driving the British Railways provincial liveried Class 142 Pacer, a full-length run from Ormskirk to Blackpool South will give you a very atmospheric 60-minute drive through a constantly changing landscape as we head through the city of Preston and onwards to the Fylde coast. On top of all this, Just Trains have also added the 3-mile line from Poulton Le Fylde to Bernays, a freight-only branch that will allow for yet more variety within this ever-changing route. So screenshots that we are seeing may include content from other add-ons via layers or substitution. If you want to know more about that, listen to the video that I did earlier from Just Trains news article detailing more of the layers that are going to be on the Blackpool route. So the Blackpool North and its concrete concourse, passengers make their way towards the trains, taking them away from Blackpool. So The station itself hasn't really changed much, so I am looking forward to seeing the differences. Check out the video I did of the Blackpool station when the leak happened. I did go to Blackpool and I did do a little tour around the stations to check that out. So improved overhead line rendering. So they've given their overhead lines some love in Train World 4, increasing the visibility within the game. Paul Klingberg, technical artist, tells us more. So how have they improved the rendering? Well, they've detailed overhead wires modelled at very high accuracy. Unfortunately, one could not really see them, as they're so thin that they seem to disappear after a very short distance and created a lot of flickering because it was like going down to 1 pixel. So they improved this visibility without making them unrealistically thick, so players can actually see their complexity with much less flickering on the lines. So just be aware, this effect is only implemented on the routes that are released after Train World 4 and Training Centre. Anything from Train World 3 will not have this effect, okay? It will not have this effect. Unless they update them. For now, Noverka Dresden, etc. will have... Well, I don't know. Maybe Noverka Dresden doesn't have it. Ooh, that's something. I might feed that back. Will Noverka Dresden have the new wires? We'll find out. Anyway, rain window effects. We listened to... Well, Dovetail listened to our feedback on the rain and windscreen graphics and are giving them a glorious update. Well, we'll be wanting rain after this release. Technical artist Paul is back for more information on this. So what's new? The new weather effects on windscreens and other train windows are now much more detailed and have a higher definition. In the previous version, it was very washed out, stutter and visibly low resolution. All droplets moved at the same speed and looked very synthetic overall. But now they show discernible droplets and snowflakes that land on the window, and moving droplets show streaks trailing behind them. The animation is also much smoother and natural. Overall, it's much less looking like jelly. Again, please note this effect is only implemented on routes released with or after Train Sim World 4. Ooh. Interesting. So it says with and after. So Noverka Dresden will get the rain effects, but with the cables, the wires, it just says routes after Train Sim World 4. So I don't think Noverka Dresden's going to get it. Anyway, character updates and new dioramas. It's time Dovetail gave our lovely characters of Train Sim World more ways to express themselves. So they built new dioramas for them to appear in across the world, such as queues for a lunchtime snack, sitting around enjoying a coffee in groups. These events should respect normal times too, so don't expect to find them being social in the late hours of the evening. That's good. That is good. Queuing up, sitting down, we saw this last week, but they will be closed. I don't know if the shutters will come down. That would be cool, but they will be closed late at night, so you won't have people queuing up, because you know what the train stations are like. They shut them early. I was at Chatham. It was 4:30, 4 o'clock, and the coffee shop in the station was already closed. Starbucks was closed. Anyway, you'll also notice new handheld items such as luggage, briefcases, coffee cups, phones, all to help build the immersion of the world in different ways. New Köln-Aachen timetable. So here's something that Dovetail have been keeping in their back pockets. They've been upgrading the Köln-Aachen timetable as well as New York-Trenton. With all the details, here's Joe. So Joe, a new timetable has been created from scratch for the Köln-Aachen route. He wanted to make a new timetable for this route since London to Brighton. An opportunity came up with the new Journeys pack, but what he had planned was much bigger than that. A few service patterns created for the NJP have been taken across, which are the S6, S11, S12, RE8 and RB27. These have been extended into the next morning based on the longer timetable tech first used on KWG. Everything else is brand new. S19, RE1, RE9 to name a few. There's also a bunch of new freight services based on real life timings and destinations, like what you might be used to on the BRO. As well as a lot of new AI for Köln HBF, Horum, Düren and Aachen HBF, which make the route seem very busy, especially in Köln. They can confirm that these will be a post-release update, and they will be updating us of the progress with screenshots in future roadmaps. So, quick update on some of the things that they mentioned on previous roadmaps. Whilst they are hoping to release the following for Train World 4's launch day on the 26th of September, they are subject to QA approval. Northeast Corridor New York to Trenton additional timetable. An update on the long-awaited New York to Trenton timetable improvements. They are happy to confirm that this will be available for Train Sim World 4's launch for all TSW4 players. They will also be aiming to bring this to Train Sim World 3 at a later date. So back to Joe. Having now completed all Amtrak, NJT and LIRR, so Long Island Railroad traffic, he moved on to freight services. Unfortunately, most of these will not be playable due to the safety systems. You would not have much of an idea what is happening ahead of you. They will remain as AI to be seen through the day. However, there was one that they could make playable, ME2. Specifically, its shunting duties at Jersey Avenue. This service operates entirely in unsignalled yard areas, which allows it to be playable, and it's quite a fun one too. The next task was to add static traffic to various yards along the route, including Croxton Yard, which is quite a notable difference where driving over the bridge at Secaucus. There are also a few lines that cross the NEC that will have traffic, such as at Croxton and the Lehigh Line, or the Lehigh Line, possibly, which crosses the NEC between New York Penn and New York Airport. So all in all, the route is quite a bit more lively now. Southeastern High Speed improvements. With the release of the Class 700 earlier this year, they wanted to make some improvements to the route to coincide with it. With these details, James Lewis. Is he like John Lewis's son? Possibly. Anyway, hello everyone, James! He's been busy working with and enjoying Train Sim World 4. He's also glad to be able to take some time to talk about Southeastern High Speed. Like we need any excuse, but it's good to have one. If you cast your minds back to June-July roadmaps, before the Class 700 was released, Dovetail announced that they were working with one of the testers and trainee editor users, Daisy, to add the Thameslink specific stop markers along the route. However, as they hinted here and there, that is not all. As a mini passion project between James and Daisy, they have devised a list of other achievable scenery improvements which they wanted to see, and now they can reveal that alongside the new markers, we can expect to find the following bonus updates to Southeastern High Speed in Train Sim World 4. Here are the changes. Added Thameslink stopping boards at stations between Raynham and Dartford. Added, improve the location, quality of other conventional stopping boards. Added DOO monitors where they were missing. Added CIS boards to Raynham Platform 0. Improved lighting at Gillingham and Ashford depots as well as Faversham sidings. Added extra scenery items at Ashford depot, including depot protection system lights. Added new clock assets to Gillingham Station, depot and Dartford signings. Improved the look of Northfleet Station platforms and fencing. Added missing foliage at Springhead Junction where the HS1 joins the North Kent line. Added missing feeder substation at Springhead Junction. Added lighting and some gantry assets around Who Junction and Staff Holts. Fixed instances of passengers not boarding and alighting trains at Higham. Added a missing 15 and 20 mile/hour speed boards at Rochester Bridge Junction. Oh yeah, I always mention that when I go on there. Replaced container crates near Purfleet on HS1 with buses as per reality. Replaced high-rise building at HS1 Medway Viaduct with a more reasonable alternative. Fixed a misplaced asset which was covering tracks outside Ashford. Removed invisible walls which blocked on-foot Ashford depot movement. Added a prompt to bypass and access the fenced-off footbridge at Ashford. Plus some all-new Easter eggs. Feline the detail. You can find Gandalf, Tripod, Daisy, and Phoebe. Embark on some valley viewfinding to pass the time. Master the meter, it's train simception. Please note, stopping board chains are visual only and they may not be represent where the timetable instructions tell you to stop, and markers are placed based on where research knowledge shows them to be from the past few years. More recent changes like the move Thameslink board at Street Platform 2 is not represented. So James said he wasn't just going to list them out without giving us some eye candy. So, put in bandwidth jail if I shoved all of this in using screenshots. So, I'm not going to show this video because it is like 3-4 minutes long, but there's a slideshow on the news article showing all the new screenshots of Southeastern High Speed. So take a look at that. I'm not going to add it just because it will take me too long to get that recording, blah, 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 blah. So just keep a lookout for that. And they can confirm that these will be available on Train Sim World 4 for all players on launch day. Nidatalbarn bonus content. So before we let James go, he's also going to give us a first look at a little something we can look forward to coming to everyone's favourite branch line, Nidatalbarn in Train Sim World 4. Wasn't even halfway out the door before calling it back, but it's worth it. To the eagle-eyed of you who already spotted the little tease a few seconds in Dovetail Direct, well done. But for those who didn't, let's talk the DBBR 682. Set in the 1990s, the Nidatalbarn route comes with a BR 628 in its contemporary white and mint livery, which was perfect for that route. And of course, Link Rheinstrecke, which released around the same time. However, German and now Austrian routes are also set in the modern day, and wouldn't it be perfect if we had a DB Regio Red BR 628 for them? Well, thanks to the team at TSG, we do. Coming as a free bonus within Nidatalbarn, the modern condition BR 628. Mint has been painted over with red and subtle details have been changed inside and out to reflect the real life progression of these units throughout the years. Dovetail will share more about it in due course, but they feel it will come in handy for our modern free roaming and scenario playing adventures, and of course is bound to turn up in a layer or two at some point. Again, they confirm this bonus livery will be available in Train Sim World 4 for all Nidatalbarn owners on launch day. So you see these updates, they're saying hopefully it definitely will be, but if there are any changes they'll let us know. But these updates are not coming to Train Sim World 3 unless I said so. These are all Train Sim World 4 updates. So, as well as the above, there will be significant updates to existing content for Train Sim World 4 players, covering a multitude of routes. They'll go into detail with the release notes, but they've called out some of the things that they think we'll be interested in, and some of the routes that are getting larger improvements. Southeastern High Speed graphics and signage improvements, so we've seen that. Northeast Corridor New York to Trenton additional timetable. Noverka Dresden route improvements. Free bonus livery for Nidatalbarn. The DBBR 187 audio improvements, finally! And also Edinburgh to Glasgow route improvements as well. There are many other smaller improvements that Dovetail will provide more information for at the time, and these updates will be released for Train Sim World 4 only, with the exception of the Trenton timetable, which their intention is to release at a later date. They plan to release patches between now and TSW4's release to address some issues with achievements and tutorials on Train Sim World 3, and these will be ported to TSW4 as well. Partner update. As well as the exciting news, Just Train's Blackpool route is coming soon. Here's a quick update from other partner developers. As you can see, they've added a few new pieces of content for Rivet Games onto Train Sim World 4 roadmap, as well as a new loco from a developer who is new to Train Sim World. Will be updated in the future roadmaps of what they're working on. The remaining partners, ATS, Union Workshops and TSG, continue to work on their projects, but we don't have a timeline for their content at this stage. Upcoming features and improvements. Formation Designer and suspension improvements will not be available on the release day for Train Sim World 4, but will come in a future update. They'll provide us with more accurate information on timelines and when they can, but for now, enjoy these developer deep dives that share more information on what we can expect. So, suspension improvements. Only swaying side to side is so Train Sim World 3. Within Train Sim World 4, they focused on improving some of the vertical sensations caused by the train suspension. Sean Bailey, physics software engineer, has the details. So what changes have been made? Well, the main focus of the updated suspension has been on a more physically accurate spring model with a much smoother and more controlled damping effect. This overall allows for a much bouncier vehicle with less jittering that was present on some vehicles before. There has also been a lot of work into allowing for a large amount of flexibility in the spring, requiring work into balancing the vehicle correctly, regardless of the spring's strengths or the axle and bogie positions. To take advantage of these improvements, slight dips in the track at rail gaps and junctions have been added. These will give the player a slight jolt when travelling over, similar to the real line effect. The improved spring allows for these to be implemented without throwing the vehicle off track. There has also been some minor changes to the unevenness of the track to allow for variations at different scales and distances. So why is this important for the player? Well, when playing Train Sim World, it is important that the player feels like they are in a real-life train or watching one from the platform. The improved suspension steps the simulation in this direction, allowing for better immersion. It also brings more life into the vehicles, with the vehicle body, bogie and axles have more dynamic behaviour, feeling a bit bouncier than before. And there will be lots of effects, and players will be able to observe that have their own real-life counterparts, including body roll, the vehicle tilting slightly when travelling around a curve, vertical bouncing, nose dips, rises during braking and acceleration, and body movement during adding and removing weight. So what differences will we feel when operating a train in Train Sim World 4? Well, overall the player will feel a bouncier and more dynamic ride operating the trains. How much so will depend on the vehicle being driven. Many have bogies attached to reduce the effort of variation of the track on the driver and passengers, and this will be the same in Train Sim World. However, other vehicles have directly connected axles, which results in a much bumpier ride both in real life and Train Sim World. So what's the most challenging part of this? Well, there's a wide variety of locos that have a large array of variations, all of which need to be accounted for when developing and tweaking the suspension. This is then amplified by the very delicate nature of physics engines in games and the need for a solution that works for every vehicle, all of which are very complex, with numerous moving parts that need to be working in tandem with each other. Tuning these vehicles can also be very challenging. It is not enough to simply take the parameters from the real life vehicle. So experiencing the bumper variations through physical touch is very different to watching it through a screen. So very careful consideration to the precise tuning of the vehicles is needed to make it feel as if the player was actually there. And the example that we saw last week in a video, oh, it looks amazing. It really does, and I can't wait to see this coming to Train Sim World 4. So, the next one, Formation Designer. Matt Peddleson. So, the term formation, otherwise known as consist, refers to a sequence of rail vehicles that make up a train. So the exact freight cars or coaches, the locomotives and what order they're in. Let's hand over to Matt Peddleson to talk more on this new feature, which will be bringing to us after the release. So what's Formation Designer, Matt? The term formation refers to a sequence of rail vehicles that make up a train, so the exact freight car or coaches, the locomotives, what order they're in, if they've got loads in them, and so forth. Formation Designer is a tool that allows you to create these formations. So where can players use these formations? Formation Designer will let you make formations that you can use in both Scenario Planner and Free Roam modes, so you can mix and match stock from all your library of trains and then use it to create even more varied and interesting content. Are there any limits to what players can make? Well, because Train Sim World creates a world of realistic physics and train behaviours, your formations will largely be held to those same constraints. You can't mismatch couplings, you can't mismatch braking systems, and even the electric connectivity used down the train is factored into this simulation. If any of these things don't match, you will end up with a train that simply won't work in various ways. Often, you can't get it moving. To avoid confusion, the designer understands what the compatibility of vehicles is and will only offer options that will work as you build the formation out. Unfortunately, an off-the-rails equivalent isn't really possible in this kind of system, because it would essentially mean replacing the entire physics model with a very basic generic one, and they definitely don't want to see that as something players would prefer. So what has been the most challenging part of developing this feature? Well, it's a big system to build. Understanding the complexities of which vehicles can work together, and then creating a user interface to manage a relatively complex task of adding, moving and rearranging vehicles, understanding cargo loads, and even allowing for formations to contain other formations. There's a lot going on in this tool, and it unlocks a lot of freedom for players to really get the most out of their collection. And even just looking at some of the stuff that we saw last week at Dovetail with these formations, you can make anything as long as it works together. If you want to make a HST steam train, and you know what I mean by saying that, with two locos go either end, it looks good. It looks good. So, wrap up. Where did the last 8,000 words go? There's a lot of exciting news to take in, and there will be part 2 releasing tomorrow, which will detail more on the features and upcoming tools. And then tomorrow evening, Thursday 24th, the roadmap stream will be answering the questions. So, phone up, tell your friends about it. That's good. I really hope I have time to do the roadmap part 2 tomorrow. I'm not too sure what time it will come out. Hopefully it will come out before, because I've got stuff on in the evening. But no, thank you so much for watching, listening to this. This is almost an hour long. That is just so big. So long. And this is only halfway through. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos from the MegaSim and Train Real World. Social media links are in the description below, and I will see you on the next video. This is MegaSim out of here. See you soon, guys. Bye.